You ever had a moment where you read something and just froze, like your brain said, hold up, wait a minute. Like you read a line and it hit you so deep, you had to read it again just to make sure your eyes weren't playing tricks on you. Man, that's exactly what happened to me when I started learning about the Quran. Because I ain't gonna lie to you, for most of my life, I thought religion was just about faith. You believe in it, you follow it, you pray. I never thought of religion as something that could talk science. I mean, come on, this book was revealed 1,400 years ago in the desert to a man who couldn't read or write in a time when people thought the stars were just lights pinned to the sky. They ain't have no telescopes, no labs, no NASA, no scientists with PhDs. And yet this book talks about the universe like it's seen it from the inside out, like it was there when it was made. And when I first heard that, man, I thought, wait, how in the world could that be? Now, let me tell you something. There's a verse in the Quran that says, do not those who disbelieve see that the heavens and the earth were once a single entity, and then we split them apart, and we made from water every living thing. Will they not then believe? When I first heard that, I sat back in my chair. I said, man, hold up. That sounds like the Big Bang Theory. You mean to tell me that 1,400 years ago, before we even had a word like galaxy, the Quran already described that the heavens and the earth were once one and then split apart? That's the exact description scientists use today for the origin of the universe, the expansion from a single point, the moment everything came into being. And what really got me, man, is the way it's worded. It don't sound like a guess. It don't sound like poetry. It sounds like knowledge, direct, clear, confident, like the one speaking knows exactly what he made. See, when I first came across that, I had to sit with it. I said, now, wait a minute. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, lived in the 7th century. Arabia was full of tribes, sand dunes, trade caravans, and storytellers. There wasn't no observatories, no satellites, no scientists writing research papers. So how does a man who couldn't read or write in a time when people thought the world was flat come up with something that matches the Big Bang? That's when I realized this ain't no man's words. This is revelation. This is divine speech. And man, when that clicked, I felt chills. Because we living in a time where folks say, I'll believe in God if I can see the proof. Well, brother, the proof been right here for 1,400 years. You just got to open the book and look. And it don't stop there. The Quran don't just talk about how the universe began. It talks about how it's still expanding. It says, and we built the heaven with strength, and indeed we are still expanding it. Now, when I heard that, I had to pause. Because hold up, Edwin Hubble, the scientist who discovered that the universe was expanding, made that discovery in the 1920s. That's over 1,300 years after the Quran said it. And even now, we got space telescopes confirming it. Galaxies moving away from each other. The universe stretching like fabric. And here's this book from the 600s already laying it out like it's yesterday's news. Man, if that don't humble you, I don't know what will. And you know me, I'm a talker. I like to question things. So I sat there thinking, all right, maybe this is just coincidence. But then I kept reading, and I see the Quran saying how every living thing is made from water. And you know what? Modern biology says the same thing. The human body, 60% water. The cells, the DNA, the life processes all depend on it. You can't live without. Water ain't just a drink, it's the building block of life itself. And the Quran said that over 1,000 years before we had microscopes to even see cells. So you tell me, how could that happen? Because to me, that don't sound like coincidence. That sounds like a creator giving us clues just enough to make us curious, just enough to make us think. And that's the thing, man. The Quran don't ask you to switch off your brain. It challenges it. It says, look at the stars, look at the heavens, look at your cells. Do you not see? That's not blind faith. That's enlightened faith. That's truth calling out saying, you were made with a mind, use it. And when I started connecting those dots, I was like, okay, this ain't about old stories or cultural traditions. This is about knowledge, real knowledge. The kind that don't expire, the kind that was true back then and still true right now. And that's when I realized the Quran don't need to be updated. Science does. Because every time science discovers something new, the Quran just sits there saying, I already told you that. And man, you can't help but smile at that. You can't help but feel small, but in a good way. Because it reminds you that there's something greater, something intelligent, something divine behind all this. It ain't random. It ain't by chance. It's planned, designed. And the more you learn about this universe, the more you realize how much you don't know, but how much he does. And I think that's the real message behind it. God ain't showing off his knowledge to confuse you. He's reminding you that he made you, he made this, and he wants you to recognize his signs. Because once you do, once you really see it, you can't go back to thinking it's all just coincidence. You start seeing the fingerprints of God everywhere. In the sky, in the ocean, in your own reflection. And that's when I said to myself, man, maybe the reason people can't see the signs is because they're too busy looking for God in the wrong places. You don't need to go to space to find him. You just need to look up, or better yet, look inward. That's where he's been waiting the whole time. Now, man, after that Big Bang verse, I thought I'd seen it all. I said, ain't no way this book got more in there like that. But then I kept reading, and the more I read, the more I started saying, now hold up. This book ain't just spiritual, it's scientific, but it don't even brag about it. It just says it, calm, simple, clear. And the deeper I went, the more I started realizing something. This book don't sound like a human trying to explain God. It sounds like God explaining his creation. Big difference, man, big difference. Like, check this out. The Quran says it is he who created the night and the day, and the sun and the moon, each floating in its orbit. Now, come on, man, floating in its orbit? You got to understand, when this was revealed, people thought the sun revolved around the earth. They thought the earth was flat and still. But the Quran said the opposite, that every heavenly body moves in a course, a path. And guess what? That's exactly what modern astrophysics says. The sun moves, the moon moves, the planets, the galaxies, everything in motion, everything part of this cosmic choreography. Ain't no stillness up there. It's all spinning with purpose. And I sat there like, man, this ain't no coincidence. And you know what's wild? It don't use fancy language. It don't throw in technical words. It speaks simple. So simple even a kid could understand it. But so accurate that it blows the mind of a scientist. It says the sun runs its course for a term appointed. Now you and me, we read that like, okay, poetic line. But scientists say, hold up, that's literally true. The sun is running its course. It's moving at about 720,000 kilometers per hour through the Milky Way galaxy, and one day its fuel gonna run out. It will end after its appointed term. So when the Quran says that, it ain't metaphor, it's fact. And that's what gets me, a book from the 600 describing facts we only just confirmed in the last century. You got to respect that. You got to stop and say, okay, something divine is going on here. But man, it don't stop there. There's a verse that says he merges the two bodies of water, one sweet and fresh, the other salty and bitter, and between them is a barrier they do not cross. Now I'm reading that thinking, what in the world is that supposed to mean? But then I looked it up, and turns out modern oceanography discovered something called a halocline. That's the invisible barrier where salt water and fresh water meet but don't mix because of differences in density and temperature. You can see it in the Strait of Gibraltar where the Atlantic and the Mediterranean touch. You can see it off the coast of South America where rivers meet the sea. It's real. And this book talked about it centuries before we had submarines or sensors to even study it. How does that happen, man? How does a desert man who never sailed across an ocean know about underwater barriers? You can't make that up. That's divine knowledge. That's revelation, not imagination. And then, man, it gets even deeper. There's another verse that says, he created you in the wombs of your mothers in stages, one after another, in 3 layers of darkness. Now, I don't care who you are. That line right there is powerful. Back then, nobody had ultrasound machines. Nobody knew about the stages of embryonic development. They ain't even know what went on inside a mother's womb after conception. But here's this book describing it like it's giving a biology lecture in stages. And modern science confirmed that human embryos do develop in distinct stages. Zygote, embryo, fetus, and they do develop within 3 layers. The abdominal wall, the uterine wall, and the amniotic sac. 3 layers of darkness, just like the Quran said. And when I saw that, man, I didn't even know what to say. I said, Lord, you mean to tell me all this time you already gave the blueprint? We just catching up? And that's what humbles me. Because the Quran ain't out here claiming to be a science book. It's not saying here's every detail of the universe. It's saying here's enough truth so you know this came from the one who made it. That's what makes it powerful. It's not about showing off. It's about showing you that faith and knowledge ain't enemies. They brothers. You see, the more science discovers, the more the Quran just nods its head like, yep, told you that already. It ain't competing, it's confirming. And I think that's the beauty of it, man. The Quran talks about signs, not proofs, not equations, but signs. It says, we will show them our signs in the horizons and within themselves until it becomes clear to them that this is the truth. You hear that? Horizons and within themselves. That means out there and in here. That means the more you study the stars and the more you study your soul, the more you're going to see the same fingerprints. And that right there, man, that's genius. That's divine design. It's saying don't limit truth to a telescope or a textbook. Truth is written in creation itself. And I'll be honest, man, this changed the way I look at the world. Like, I can't even walk outside and look at the sky the same way no more. I used to see stars and just think they're pretty. Now I see purpose. I see precision. I see systems that have been moving perfectly for billions of years without one mistake, without one malfunction. You know how wild that is? We can't even make a phone battery that lasts all day without heating up. But the sun been burning steady for billions of years. Just right. Not too close to fry us, not too far to freeze us. You think that's random? Nah, man, that's orchestration. That's mastery. That's God saying, I got this. And maybe that's what the Quran been trying to tell us this whole time. That real faith ain't blind. Real faith is seeing the signs and knowing who they point to. You ain't got to choose between science and belief. You just got to realize science is how we study the signs and belief is how we understand them. And when you finally get that, man, it's like your soul takes a deep breath. You stop arguing about God and you start appreciating him. You start feeling gratitude for the precision of his design, the mercy in his laws, the wisdom in his words. Because it ain't just that the Quran describes the universe. It reminds you who holds it all together. Now, you know, man, after seeing all them verses, the stars, the water, the womb, the sun, I started asking myself, why did God put all that in there? I mean, he could have just said, believe in me and left it at that. But no, he filled this book with signs, with details about the heavens and the earth, about how we're made, how we live, how we die, and how everything fits together like gears in a clock. I think he did that because he knows how people are. We don't always listen when somebody just tells us something. But when he shows us, when he lets us see his power through his creation, that's when it hits our hearts. You see, the Quran ain't just information. It's revelation. It's meant to wake you up. It's like God saying, look at my signs. Open your eyes. The proof has been all around you since day one. And man, I'll tell you what, that's where most of us mess up. We live in this fast world where everybody's chasing something, money, fame, attention, and nobody looks up anymore. Nobody stops to think. You go outside, you see people walking with their heads down, scrolling on their phones, lost in screens. But the Quran tells you to look at the sky, to look at the mountains, to look at yourself. That's deep, man. It's not just telling you to believe, it's telling you to observe. That's why it uses the word signs again and again, because belief ain't supposed to be blind. It's supposed to be clear. It's supposed to come from seeing. You know, there's a verse that says, do they not look at the camels, how they are created, and at the sky, how it is raised? Now, when I first heard that, I laughed. I said, camels, why camels? But then I got it. It ain't really about the camel, it's about attention. It's about reflection. God's saying, stop ignoring what's right in front of you, because everything you see from a camel to a galaxy got design in it, purpose, balance. Everything's working in sync. You can't look at creation and not feel the creator behind it. It's like walking into a mansion and pretending it built itself. It don't make no sense. Somebody built that. Somebody designed that. Somebody thought about every inch of it. And that somebody is God. And that realization, man, it hits different because you start to see that life itself is proof. The way your heart beats, the way your lungs breathe, the way your mind thinks, the way your body heals, you don't control none of that. You can't even control when you wake up or when you take your last breath. You're living inside one of God's greatest signs, you. The Quran says, and on the earth are signs for those who are sure, and in yourselves. Do you not see? And that verse right there, man, it humbled me. Because I realized I don't got to go to space to see a miracle. I just got to look in the mirror. But here's the thing. Most people don't want to look. They want to argue. They want to deny. They'll believe in gravity, atoms, dark matter, black holes, all invisible, all unseen. But when you say God, they say prove it. Ain't that something? You'll trust a scientist you never met, but question the one who made the scientist. And that's the tragedy of our time, man. We got so much knowledge, but so little wisdom. We got so much data, but so little direction. And that's what the Quran been warning us about. It says they know what is apparent of this world, but they are heedless of the hereafter. Meaning we know how everything works, but we forgot why it works. And that's why these verses about the universe hit me so hard. Because they remind you, this ain't random. This ain't chaos. This ain't luck. This is design. This is intent. You see, the Quran keeps saying he created nothing without purpose. That means everything from the stars above to the cells inside you got a reason. And if the universe got purpose, that means you got purpose. You ain't some accident. You ain't some number in the system. You're a soul crafted by the same one who hung the stars. That's powerful, man. That's what gives life meaning. And I think that's where faith comes in. Faith ain't about ignoring science. It's about connecting the dots. It's about saying if the laws of physics are this perfect, then the lawgiver must be even more perfect. That's what Islam does. It don't make you close your mind. The Quran don't say don't study. It says reflect. It don't say don't explore. It says observe. Because every discovery, every invention, every fact we uncover, it just brings us closer to seeing the signs God already put in place. And man, that's why I say Islam ain't just a religion. It's a mindset. It's a way of seeing the world. It teaches you that the universe ain't separate from faith. It is faith living and breathing in front of you. Every sunrise, every heartbeat, every storm, every galaxy. All of it is like a sermon being preached without words. The Quran says the seven heavens and the earth and all within them glorify him. And there is not a thing that does not exalt him, though you do not understand their praise. That verse right there gives me chills. You mean everything, rocks, trees, oceans, stars, they're all worshiping. That's wild, man. That means the whole universe is alive with purpose. And we're the only ones who forget to join in. So when I read those verses about the heavens and the earth, I don't just see science, I see invitation. An invitation to believe, to think, to reflect. God saying, I gave you a mind, I gave you eyes, I gave you signs, use them. That's what separates belief from blind faith. You're not supposed to shut your brain off. You're supposed to light it up. The Quran makes you think, it makes you ask, it makes you search. And the more you do, the more it leads you right back to the same answer. There's only one behind all this. And I think that's what modern people miss, man. We think belief is old-fashioned. We think we've outgrown God because we got technology. But you can't outgrow the one who gave you the ability to think. The Quran's message don't get outdated. It just keeps proving itself. Every time science discovers something new, it just confirms what was already written. And that's why I say this book ain't just meant to be read, it's meant to be experienced. It's like a mirror reflecting truth through every generation, every culture, every age. You read it and it reads you. And when I realized that, man, I started looking at my own life differently. I started asking myself, what signs have I been ignoring? The blessings I take for granted, the times I was saved from something I didn't even see coming, the people who showed up when I needed them most, all signs, all part of that same divine plan. That's what the Quran makes you see. It makes you realize that nothing's random. Every breath, every test, every delay, it's all connected. You just got to open your eyes long enough to see the signs before your time runs out. You know, man, after all that, I came to one simple truth. The Quran don't just describe the universe. It reminds you of who made it. Because what good is knowing how the stars shine if you forget who lit them? What good is studying life if you never ask why you were given it? That's what this book keeps bringing me back to. Purpose. The universe ain't just spinning for no reason. Everything's on time. Everything's in order. Everything's obeying its creator. And the only thing that keeps breaking the pattern is us. We're the ones who got choice. We're the ones who can look up at the stars and still say, nah, I don't believe. And that's wild, man, because the same God that holds galaxies in place also holds you together when life falls apart. So yeah, science can tell you how the world works, but the Quran tells you why it does. And when you understand that, your whole view of life changes. You stop stressing about every little thing because you know there's a plan. You stop chasing temporary highs because you know this life ain't the destination, it's the test. You start living with gratitude, humility, peace, because the same Lord who created the stars created you with love. And when you finally see that connection between the heavens above and the heart inside you, that's when you really start to live.